So now let's talk about Andrea and Gavin. They're here with us in the same place for the first time. We've always had our presenters separate. So Andrea Wood is an award-winning journalist, graphic designer, and former newspaper editor who received her degree in public relations and graphic design from the University of Central Missouri. She currently serves as the president of the UCM Student Publications Board and secretary of the UCM Digital Media Production Advisory Board, mentoring college students entering a variety of communication fields. Her passion for membership has impacted students from elementary school through college. In her favorite role as a mom, Wood has been a room parent and coordinator for 7 years. For 10 years, she has volunteered as a mentor for several FIRST robotics teams. Her work with FRC Team 1939 helped guide the team to earn 3 NASA-sponsored Engineering Inspiration Awards and 2 Chairman's Awards. She has also helped coordinate and facilitate the team's partnership with Go Baby Go. Inspired by these experiences, Wood and her husband Gavin, who is here with us today, co-founded Iterate Innovations LLC to assist and support a variety of STEM education endeavors, including collaborating with ITEEA on the launch of Reach Challenge, which we'll be talking about today. So we also have here with us Gavin Wood, who has been a STEM educator for 17 years and holds a master's in education. His focus on engineering for social good, design thinking, and developing an ecosystem of innovation with his students has earned him numerous recognitions, including the FIRST Robotics Woody Flowers Finalist Award, the ITEEA Teacher Excellence Award, and the Lawrence W. Pracken Professional Cooperation Award. As the STEAM director for the Barstow School in Kansas City, Wood designs curriculum that reinforces user-centered design and the empathy part of the engineering design process. In his role as head coach of a World Championship level FIRST Robotics team, the same team as Andrea, FRC Team 1939, Wood developed a global partnership with Go Baby Go, which creates adaptive technology to help children with mobility challenges. He founded and operates an online forum, and I could put the link in the chat box, connecting families in need with Go Baby Go chapters worldwide. And he provides how-to manuals to teach others how to make adaptive technology for children in their communities. To encourage more STEM programs to incorporate adaptive technology projects into their curriculum, Wood and his wife Andrea collaborated with ITEEA on the creation and launch of Reach Challenge, an impactful adaptive and assistive technology design thinking project for middle school, high school, and college students. So we have Gavin and Andrea here with us today. You want to say hi?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Hi, I'm Gavin, and it's good to see you all, and I look forward to hearing your questions. And I'd also like to say thank you to ITEA for hosting this STEMinar. We're very excited about it, so thank you. We'll just go ahead and dive right in. That's all right with you.
So what will we be covering this evening? First, I'm going to do a brief overview of Reach Challenge, including what is Reach Challenge, who can participate and what constitutes a team, and how it can transform lives, including yours.
Then I'm going to give you a complete tour of the Reach Challenge toolkit and dashboard, including how to sign up and sign in, how to access the Educator's Toolkit and what's inside. I'm going to go over a new Design from a Distance online learning toolkit. We'll discuss how to access sponsors' exclusive discounts and vouchers, how to create a roster and what's required for each team member and your user expert, and how to submit your project.
So what is Reach Challenge? Reach Challenge is an impactful design thinking project for STEM students. Teachers and their students can use their STEM skills to reach a member of their community who has a challenge to overcome. Then each team develops a viable, adaptive, or assistive technological solution to help, and can submit their project to ITEA to earn awards. Last year in 2019, ITEA awarded $5,000 in STEM funding and awards to Reach Challenge teams. So who can participate in Reach Challenge? Any student from grades 7 through 12, as well as undergraduate college students, may be on a team. This can be incorporated into any STEM class or after-school club, and it can be a homeschool or special project that a student does from home. Each Reach Challenge team consists of one team lead, which is usually a teacher, 1 to 12 students, and 1 user expert. Now this is going to be the person, or it could be a pet or animal, that you're designing a solution to help. It should be noted that any user expert who is a person under the age of 18, so a child, or an animal, should be considered a co-user expert along with their primary caretaker. Teams can also have an optional team mentor. That could be someone like a computer scientist, someone who's good in programming, or a specialist that might be needed to help you with your particular solution. So, why is Reach Challenge different than any other STEM project or competition that we've been involved with as educators and mentors? Simply put, it changes lives. It changes the lives of those in your community because oftentimes the adaptive or assistive technology that a person needs simply cannot be bought in stores. With 3D printing and the maker movement, STEM students can create a customized piece of adaptive tech made specifically for that person or animal. You can literally give someone the gift of inclusion, independence, or mobility. But Reach Challenge changes your students' lives as well. It's powerful when students are given that real-world application of their STEM skills to change a person's life. Reach Challenge not only provides this hands-on application, but it also teaches character development, such as empathy, listening skills, and social awareness. Here's what 2 teachers who used Reach Challenge in their classrooms had to say. Brian Silver said, "Having these students really think about what someone else's needs are and how they can utilize their skills they are learning in class to design and improve the life of that person is an empowering challenge that can affect an entire community. Students now see themselves as part of the solution and able to make a difference to others." Jason Donaldson, whose Reach Challenge team was the winner for 2019, said, "We gained empathy for those with disabilities and discovered meaningful ways to help someone become more independent. This competition also challenged us to come up with a technology solution to an everyday problem, and working with someone in need motivated us to continue improving it." There is so much I could say about Reach Challenge. How it inspires girls to love STEM by connecting their STEM skills to the ability to help others. How we've seen teenagers' walls come tumbling down when they connect with someone on an empathetic level. But instead of more words, I think this short video of the 2019 Reach Challenge winners says it all.
perfect for us. He's going to be able to feel independence is what we're looking to get kids to. We I really do appreciate the technology that has been used. The gentlemen that have been putting this together, they have done a wonderful job. Actually, it's vibrating right now in my hands as we talk. And this will be a game changer for most of the kids, not just Vlad, but for every kid that we have in this school that will have a disability. So thank you very much.
We were absolutely blown away by all the amazing Reach Challenge projects last year. I know all of us got into education because we love helping to shape young minds and to make the world a better place. This project, I promise, will fulfill all those warm fuzzies. On a long day, when it's 10:30 at night and I'm still grading papers, this is what reminds me of why I wanted to be a teacher. So that's the other life that will be changed by Reach Challenge. Yours. As a teacher, I wanted to make sure that other educators were given everything they need to be successful at Reach Challenge. That's what really sets Reach Challenge apart from other projects, the Educator's Toolkit. It's packed with Monday morning ready PowerPoints, worksheets, discussion prompts, videos, hands-on activities, and more to teach your students about empathy, user-centered design, adaptive and assistive technology, safety, prototyping, and so much more. I've already heard from one educator who said it's the best curriculum he's ever seen in his long teaching career. Forget having to make sub-plans or do a ton of research on your own. It's all right here. Even how to find people in your community to help with flyers and more. There's even a digital coupon book with vouchers and codes for exclusive discounts to STEM resources that can help your team. And so many of us teachers right now are unsure what this school year is going to bring. So for 2020, we've added a new toolkit packed with resources like videos, online assessments, and everything you need to do Reach Challenge online in a hybrid learning environment or live in your classroom. In fact, let's go ahead now and take you on a tour inside the Reach Challenge dashboard to give you a peek at the toolkit and vouchers. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the internet, and just to get started off, I'm going to go ahead and go to reachchallenge.org. Before I show you more team-specific information, I just wanted to give you like an overview a little bit. There's some demonstration videos in here, some kind of descriptions of how everything works. It's useful to use the frequently asked questions here. This has a lot of good information that teams would be looking for prior to signing up. Also, this is a good place to get information to pass on to an administrator as they're trying to make decisions about whether they would support Reach Challenge teams or not. So pretty much everything you'd need is there in the frequently asked questions. I'm going to go ahead now and go up here to where it says Manage Profiles. Since I have a couple of schools signed up here, I've got my Reach HS1001, so that's my school number that I've got. So this brings me to my team dashboard. All right. So this is the place where I can basically manage all of the different aspects of my team. So the first thing I want to really talk about is the toolkit. The toolkit is a fantastic asset and resource for you, and that's really like your lesson plan in a box for doing Reach Challenge. You can do every activity in the toolkit, and it would probably take you most of the semester to get through it. You can pick and choose the activities that you want, but there's a whole lot of information in here for you, and I'll just kind of walk you through what's available. The first thing is that you'll see the full toolkit download. So this would download basically every toolkit document for all of the 7 different sections that exist within Reach Challenge. Okay, so this full toolkit download is everything all in a big zip file. Okay, so if you click on that, it'll bring you to this toolkits download page, and you would essentially just select toolkits, and you can just hit download right here, and it will download all of that information for you. So that is one thing you can do. You can also go kind of unit by unit or toolkit by toolkit. The place that I would suggest that you sort of, the first and sort of last place you should visit is this submission guidelines toolkit right here. This is the place where you're going to find all of the information you need about what you need to submit to basically submit your project to ITEEA. So if you look under submission guidelines here, this will have a lot of information. So as a team lead, this would be kind of your go-to document to make sure that you're doing everything you need to do to have a successful submission to Reach Challenge. Okay, this has all of the dates on it about when everything is due. And basically what you're going to be submitting through Reach Challenge is just a couple of things, okay? A short technical paper that's 3 to 5 pages with a bill of materials, a simple bill of materials about the materials that you used, as well as a 3-minute video, 3-minute maximum video. You're allowed to have up to 12 students on a team, and this basically gives you all of the information that you would need about how to do that. So I would suggest that this is the first and last place that you visit, so you make sure that you will have a successful submission for Reach Challenge. In this same folder, you'll also see a bill of materials template. You'll see a sample technical paper that was already written, so that there's kind of an example to look off of. There is a PDF and a PowerPoint that is all about technical writing and videography, about how to do some successful technical writing and how to make a really effective video. So there's a lot of other resources in here as well. So this is a really great place to start. So I'm going to go back to the Toolkit Download Center, and we're going to check out a couple of other toolkits that are available as well. Let's try a little tour of the User-Centered Design Toolkit. So the basic premise is that in every toolkit section, you've got a lesson plan and a PowerPoint setup. Okay, so you have a ready-made PowerPoint that you can use to present in your class. If you're doing live instruction, or if you're presenting face-to-face through like Zoom or another online platform, please use those PowerPoints. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Design from a Distance toolkit in just a moment that makes that even easier if you're teaching online. But let's have a look at the lesson plan for right now. And this is pretty standard to what you'll see in every toolkit. So let's have a look here at the User-Centered Design toolkit. The first thing you'll find is an overview. This is really mainly for the teacher that talks through what user-centered design is and the goals. This same information is in the PowerPoint that you'd be presenting to your students, so they will get that information as well. And right after the overview, you'll see a discussion prompt. So the discussion prompt will basically be a guide for the teacher about how to begin a discussion, in this case about user-centered design. And that would lead into an activity. All right, so the first part is the Let's Explore activity. And these are often case studies. So this particular one is that you'd have the students watch a short video about the Museum of Failure. And it would go into different products and why they maybe weren't so successful. A lot of times, you know, as engineers and designers, we learn a lot more from failure than we do from success. So this is about the value of user-centered design and also the value of learning from failure. So there's a little worksheet that goes along with it as well. You can choose to have a discussion or have them fill out the worksheet. So after the Let's Explore activity, it flows into a Let's Reach activity. Now this is more of a hands-on, get up out of your seats and make something kind of activity. So the Let's Reach activity in this case is where students would be designing a cup accessory. So the reason that this was chosen is basically we wanted to use very low cost, easily accessible materials. Most schools have cups and pipe cleaners and tape and various inexpensive items like that that can be used to modify a cup for this experiment. And basically, there are 4 different user profiles that are described to the students, and so you would give each student one of those 4 user profiles. And then they have to, based on the information they receive about that user, they would then design and actually build out of easily accessible items that modified cup that would meet that user's needs, and then present it to the class. And so this isn't that kind of get up out of your seat and interact sort of lesson. And then at the end, of course, we have all of the sources that were used, as well as NGSS alignments if you need those as well. So that's just kind of an example of the lesson plan for user-centered design. And of course, that would go right along with the PowerPoint that is also in that section. So I'm going to go on back to the Download Center now and scroll on down to our newest unit, which is the Design from a Distance toolkit right here. Now, this one is unique, and it's actually not only really useful if you're doing online education, but I think that really the resources that are available in here will be valuable for anyone. So let's go ahead and have a look. It appears to be a single PDF document, but the reality is that there is a lot of backup documentation for this, and I'll kind of show you what I mean by that. All right, so I'll start scrolling through. Basically, what we've done is we've taken all of the other units and made them online friendly. So the basic gist of what you're going to see are that every unit has now a link to a video presentation of the PowerPoint for that section. So you can send out a link, then I would be giving that PowerPoint and explaining that PowerPoint to your students through a video. And then we've also created online Kahoot quizzes that you can send out to the students, and then they can take that quiz to prove that they watched the video. There also are Google Doc versions of every worksheet and activity throughout all of the other toolkits that are like ready to go, formatted in an editable format as well as just Google Docs. So you can either download a Word document and edit that as you wish, or you can open it within Google Docs and edit it that way. So you really have a lot of flexibility in those worksheets and how you choose to assign those. And then there's a kind of an important little video right here that is a how-to video about basically downloading things from the Google Drive links, and as well as how to use the Kahoot quizzes that go with each unit. So I'll continue on down here. We were looking at the user-centered design one, so I'm going to focus on that one as well, just to kind of give you an idea, okay? So every section, so I'll click on this video link, for example. That will take me to this video about the user-centered design. So
today
your
we'll be
students,
discussing
you can watch this
user-centered
video.
design and how it
All right. So it really goes through the PowerPoint in detail and gives them that overview. This is especially valuable if you're not teaching in a synchronous classroom where you basically are giving out assignments and the students are completing those on their own time. So that's a great resource. So let's take a look at this Kahoot link. If you click on that link, it will bring you to a quiz on Kahoot about the PowerPoint video. And you have a few choices about how you present this. So if you have an account, if you don't have an account, you can play it as a guest. But if you do have an account, you actually have a few choices. And what I highly recommend you do first is come over here to the 3 dots and click duplicate, okay? If you have an account, what that will do is it will save a copy of that Kahoot into your account. So that now this is kind of the duplicate version that is yours. that if you come over to these three dots, you can edit this. You can add questions, you can take away questions, and it's quite intuitive on how to do it. So you can check that out. Once you're ready to run the Kahoot, you just click on play, and you have two options: teach and assign. If you want to do it live in class, now you can do it like live in a classroom, or you can do this over like a Zoom class. But if you're teaching in a more asynchronous way, you would click on assign here, and you just pick a due date and time. And once you click create, it will open up this page with a URL on it that you can copy, and a game pin that you can send to your students, and that will allow them to take this quiz anytime before the due date, and the results will go up here into your reports, and you can look and see how your students did and check their progress. So that's a great little way to kind of check up and make sure that they actually watch the video without it being a harsh thing. It's kind of a fun thing to be able to do. So I'm going to skip on down. So we just looked at the Kahoot. There's a let's discuss prompt here as well. And then I'm actually going to go down here to the activities and worksheets, and I'm going to open those in a new window that you would see even if you weren't signed into your Google Drive. So in this case, basically what you have is access to all of these documents. If you're not signed in, even if you don't have a Google account, you can totally access this and you can download them right here. If you do have a Google account, you can just copy these into your own Google account, in your own Google Drive, and you can edit those as you see fit. So you would just copy these out. Here's the video, by the way, that we showed earlier. So, and I do want to take a second to show you an example of what these documents look like. So this one is about the Museum of Failure. So we have a son who is in middle school, and we did some market research and asked him what the best practices were here. And he said that what his classmates like the best is when there are some clear directions with a link to whatever they're supposed to do, and then questions that follow. So we took his advice and basically constructed it just like that, with an introduction, some instructions, and a really neat video to watch, and then a few questions to follow. So it's really just a way to get them thinking, and it's a great little resource. So we will go ahead and back out of this and go back to the folder, and this is just a document repository for these standalone worksheets that you can assign to your students, edit as you see fit. It's just a really great way to get that information out there and keep your class active and do some activities that are really engaging. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard and just show you guys real quick the kind of rest of what you have access to as a team lead. One thing is you have vouchers over here, and these are basically just discounts at various suppliers. These will be updated for the 2020 Reach Challenge season here soon. But keep an eye on those discounts, as soon as we get them, we update those in here. So please check those out. So when you first log in, you'll see some information here about the dashboard. And a really important aspect of it is this team member registration form. So basically what you would do is when you create a team, it creates a unique registration form for you. And if you click on this link, you'll basically be able to send this out to your students, to any other mentors, or to your user expert, and all of those people can fill out this form, and that basically is a requirement for participating on the Reach Challenge team. So this has all the release language and everything in it for being a participant in Reach Challenge. Now, some would ask, do you have to know every student who's going to be on your team when you first register your team? And the answer is no, you do not. You can register your team, and then you can kind of populate your team information later on as that kind of becomes more clear. If you click on the Your Team tab here, you will see a roster. Now this one is blank, but as students fill out that team information form, this would be populated with all the different participants. Now as team lead, you also need to fill out that form, so your participant role would be listed as team lead. All right, so I'm going to go back and show you, this is the tab you would click on to do your project submission. Essentially, when you're ready to upload your final project, all you have to have is a PDF document of your paper and a link to your video on that PDF. That's really all that we are asking for. So that's pretty straightforward submission, and that will open up a little bit closer to submission time. So look, don't let your students be worried about this being too tough of a project in terms of writing a technical paper. Put them at ease, and let me show you a couple of resources that you can use that will really make that whole project both really educational and informational, like a really good skill to have, as well as really gives them a good template and examples. So it really gives them some structure to put their own thoughts into. And I wanted to show you just a couple of resources here to help you with your submissions. So I'm in right now the submission guidelines section of the toolkit, section 1. And some of the documents in here, first of all, there's a Reach Challenge Bill of Materials template that is great. And I'll show you what it looks like in here. So let's go ahead and have a look at this sample technical paper. Essentially, this is an example of a reasonably well-written paper that would be a really good submission for Reach Challenge. And this is what the Bill of Materials template looks like as well, that you're more than welcome to use. So that is one excellent resource, actually two excellent resources. And let's also flip over to this other document. This is the new toolkit. The Design from a Distance toolkit, and we're going to go down to the 3rd page, which is tips and rules about submission guidelines, especially if you're considering online meetings and things like that. So there's a technical paper here that you can copy into your own folder, and then you can open and you can edit this and make it your own. So it's really just almost like fill in the blank. I mean, the students have to be creative and describe their process, but it gives them a format in which to operate that I think is really helpful. That structure really kind of helps take some of the pressure off, I think. So use those excellent resources as you consider your submission. So now that you've had an overview about how to kind of run a team and the resources that are involved, let's say that you want to sign up. So what you would do is just go to the main Reach Challenge webpage, and you're going to scroll down and click right here on Register Your Team. One thing I'd like to point out is that we're offering a massive discount right now. So essentially it's half price, $100 for a team, when usually it's $200 even if you're a member. So it's an excellent discount for early bird registration that I highly recommend you take advantage of. Here are the usual prices and the early bird prices, $100 per team and $150 for non-members. So please take advantage of that and join us for the 2020 Reach Challenge season. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Register Online here and start registration. Okay, register me, start registration. If you don't have a Reach Challenge account, it will have prompted you to create basically an account. So you would need to do that before you proceed too much further in the process. So this is the main kind of sign up page. And the important things to do here, I need to check your level, middle school, high school, or collegiate. I'm going to check high school for this one and just use some made up information to kind of get me through the boxes here for registration. So once you've filled everything in about your school, go ahead and hit next step. And that will bring us to the page where you're going to select your number of teams, essentially. So you can run multiple teams through your same school. So if you have a large school, there's no reason to say that you can't have 5, 6, 7, 10 teams that all run at your one school. Another way to do it, especially if you're a little bit more budget conscious, is if you have a larger class, you can have almost like an in-class competition with Reach Challenge, where you register one team, but you maybe have 3 or 4 teams in your classes that all participate, and then you can pick basically the best 1 or 2 of those teams and go ahead and submit those to Reach Challenge. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. For this one, I'm just going to select a single team just for demonstration purposes, and then I'm going to hit next step. If you ever have any issues or problems through the registration process, you can always just email us at reach@iteea.org, and that will go to all the people that know how to solve any problem you would have and get you registered. This is just showing your total fees. We're looking at one team for $100. I'm going to go ahead and hit checkout right here, and this will take me to the checkout page. So here I'm seeing my total. I can go ahead and move through and make sure I put in my address and payment and everything. I'm going to not worry about that process right now, since I'm not actually going to be paying to register this team, since we're just doing a demonstration. But you basically will put in your address here, and you just kind of click through the process. Again, if you have any issues, just shoot us an email and we'll get you all fixed up. Well, in the interest of getting to your questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up the presentation for now. So we'd like to thank ITEA for partnering with us, and we really look forward to seeing your submissions and hearing your questions. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Gavin and Andrea, for that awesome STEMinar telling us all about Reach Challenge. So let's get started with some questions. And as I'm reading these questions out loud and Andrea and Gavin are answering them, you can keep on sending us some questions in the Q&A box below. So our first question says, if schools are in an online learning environment, how can this be done, since it appears that significant materials are needed?
That's a great question. So what we've found is that the reality is that it depends on the project that you choose to determine how much materials are needed. So like, I'll give you an example. For last year, there was a team that created a really cool napkin folder. And that actually allowed the user expert that they're working with to get a job and earn a paycheck that he had never been able to do before, because he just didn't have the speed and accuracy. And the napkin folder that they built was literally cardboard and tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape. So I guess
it was awesome.
It was fantastic.
And they got like multiple requests, like everyone in all of his friends, they all wanted one. So it was a huge success.
And they really did a good job of iterating that design. So you can design a fantastic product that really helps your user expert without heavy reliance on materials or tools. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're in an online teaching situation, try to keep it simple. And also, I would point out that you can get materials donated pretty easily. So a lot of teams last year were able to get companies and community organizations to just donate those kind of simple materials to them. So there's that. You can also even have your students, do multiple designs from home with just household materials. Everybody has, little bits of wood and pipes and tape and stuff like that you can build decent working prototypes just with small materials. And the way I did it last year with some of my students is, since I still had access to the school, if they would design something in CAD and it needed to be 3D printed or laser cut, they could send me those designs, and then I could go up and make them and get those to them that way. That way we can keep our social distance. So
yeah, and there were multiple projects last year that were winners that were very simple. There was a hand stretching device that was made out of like popsicle sticks and pencils. So I mean, it's surprising what you can come up with
right.
just what students have at home, and or ordering supplies or getting them donated, or if you have access to a 3D printer or laser cutter, that's excellent, if even the teacher does. Or there's also local maker spaces that you could explain to them this project and potentially get them to do that for free, to volunteer to do that. So
one last thing there is, I would say, utilize CAD. You know, you can do that kind of online design. It's a great thing to teach the students anyway. And the students can create pretty much anything they want to within a CAD program, and you can see where all their ideas are at.
Yeah, I was going to say, with that, there was a middle school team last year that used Tinkercad to come up with a very simple design, which was excellent. And then also there was a team who did a hydraulic leg lift for a woman with multiple sclerosis, and they weren't able to complete their project all the way. They had an excellent design and they were working on it, but they still could, submitted their CAD design and showed their progress, and they ended up being a finalist as well. So even if you can only just do a CAD design, depending on the level of where your students are at, go for it. We understand, believe me, this year is very unusual, and it's a time to be flexible. So, kind of just meet your students where they are and keep it simple.
That's great. So they can use pretty much anything.
Yes,
anything they have access to.
Yeah.
So we had someone ask, will we get the recording for this webinar? So we will actually be sending out a link to the webinar tonight. And Gavin and Andrea, did you have any additional documents or any links to anything that we can also, if we could put a link to maybe the Reach Challenge website in the chat, maybe, would that be?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So we'll send that out to everyone, and maybe when we send out the link to the video, we can also send out a link to the Reach Challenge through the ITA website.
Excellent.
So we also have a question asking, what is the timeline of everything?
Okay, so I see the question there. So what is the timeline? I'm looking at the one about the December 31st submission deadline.
So I guess if there's, when will everything be released for this fall? When is it all due? Is there any deadlines in the middle or in between?
Good. Okay, so basically to answer the question is the timeline is now. So as soon as you get registered, you can register your team tonight if you so wish. And as soon as you're registered and paid, especially if you want to take advantage of that discount, you want to do that before that September 11th deadline. That is an important deadline because that's your last day to get the discount. Other than that,
I was going to say, one of the benefits for you is that, like, when you have access to the content over the summer, you can review it and see what you want to do, for your classroom in the fall. So it's ready to go.
Definitely, that's a good point. So I would suggest that you get access as soon as you are registered and paid. You have access to that toolkit. You can make your lesson plans for the fall. And then the only real deadline for us once you're registered is to have your submission in by that December 31st deadline. And the reason we have a December 31st deadline instead of a spring deadline is because essentially the projects are judged in January. And then we want to have time to release the winner information and finalist information in February to give the participants enough time to get signed up to go to the conference. So
the conference is in March, and so that's when the awards are presented, and a lot of the educators like to come in person to receive their award or their check.
Right.
So so working backwards from March, that's kind of the timeline there.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Can there be more than one team per school?
You bet. Yeah, you can have as many teams as you want to per school. And they're all, right now, every team is only $100 to register. So again, great time to take advantage, especially if you're going to do multiple teams in a school. I would say too, if you're going to do multiple teams in the same building, that you can really get that kind of like in-school competition aspect built up, and it really adds a little special something to the competition. That if lots of people are doing it, then it hits sort of a critical mass where they can talk to each other about it, and they're all kind of working towards the same goals, but in a kind of a way that adds something special.
Well, I think that's what a lot of schools do for like science fairs, for local science fairs, is that they'll hold a school level competition for their science fair, and then certain ones will be, selected to go on to be representing the school kind of at a, citywide one. So yeah, same sort of thing.
So you hear a lot about extension activities that schools do beyond the toolkits. Like I was thinking of Shark Tank. Do they do anything like that at the schools with?
They haven't told us. I know that here we live in Kansas City, so I know here that there is an event where students can go and present their student created inventions and projects, and there's absolutely nothing to hold you back from putting this into a competition like that. I should mention that the intellectual property that the teams create is theirs. The ITEEA Reach Challenge has no ownership over your intellectual property. So and there's even a whole section in there about whether you should patent or not. So yes, you can do anything you want to with your intellectual property otherwise.
Right.
So you won't do anything to it afterwards.
No, we're not going to steal anybody's inventions. Yeah.
If I do not know which students will be working on my school's team, can we still register during the early bird time frame?
Yes. In fact, that's one of the great things is you don't have to fill out the roster. When you sign up, you get access to the toolkit, but you don't have to fill out exactly what kids are on your team until December 31st before midnight. So that's one of the great things is I help run an FLL team, for example, and we have to get our roster in so early that sometimes a kid will drop out, they're not interested, or another kid will want to join late, and it's like, it's kind of a nightmare. But with this, it's really easy because you don't have to tell us who's on your team until you submit it. So
I will say this though, don't wait until December 30th.
Yeah, don't wait.
To get those forms sent out.
Right.
So yeah, make sure that you give yourself enough lead time to have those all in there. So
good tip. How would you suggest teams work with a person with disabilities if you can't meet in person?
There's actually, we were discussing as we were making this STEMinar, there's actually a lot of merit to meeting online with a user expert or a person with disabilities, even if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic. Just the aspect of getting together with a person with disabilities, especially if they're significant disabilities, can be rather challenging because you either have to go to their home, which can feel invasive, or you have to get them out to come to your school to meet you, which that can kind of be a thing. It can be overwhelming a little bit. And, there are still transportation difficulties that people with disabilities are facing all the time. It's not as easy as it is for you and I, for them to get everybody in the car, get them to the school, get them unloaded and inside. So, and then you're also not running the risk of spreading any disease to somebody who might have a compromised immune system. So there's actually a lot of benefit to online meetings, like through Zoom or Google video chat or Google Hangouts. There's lots of different ones. I think Facebook just launched one.
And I think one of the other things is, just like I'm sure all of you are going, oh, look at their bookshelf. You can actually, it's really beneficial to see the person in their own environment. And, you could say, give me a tour of your house, walk me through what your daily, living is like. And they can actually show you, I have to go here and I have to do this. And so really, in a very non-invasive way, you can get a real glimpse into their lives. So there's actually a huge benefit to just doing Zoom calls. And it's so easy that you might be able to actually meet with them more often.
That's true. Having like a weekly meeting when you're given updates is actually a great idea, and that's really hard to do if you're meeting in person.
Right.
So I hope that answered that question okay.
I think so, yeah. And I've heard of teachers dropping materials off to different students' houses. So would you recommend something like that where?
Yeah, I know I did pickups where I basically would put together, I found some old Christmas bags in the basement and I would put basically their materials in it and leave them at the school with their name on it, and then they could come up and pick them up and still maintain social distance.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what you did. Is you got the CAD files, you would 3D print them, and then you would deliver them to them. So yeah.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah, whatever works.
And that would be the same process. So once you would make a prototype, to do that same delivery method to the user experts so they can test it. And I would just say, make sure that you wipe everything down, or, before you give it to the user expert to test. But yeah, that's a pretty good way to do it.
I agree. Is there a way or a forum for Reach Challenge team leaders or teachers to collaborate and communicate with other team leaders?
That's a great question. And as far as I know,
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
as far as I know, there's not one currently.
But we'll have to think about that.
That we can make it. We can
Yes.
I'm absolutely
Yeah,
100%
he's taking notes
certain.
right now because we do like a Slack discussion board, like for robotics teams and things like that. And it is, you're right. I mean, that's a great idea because it does help to kind of collaborate sometimes and bounce ideas off of people. How are you doing this? How are you doing that?
How did you find your user expert?
Right,
Yeah, of course,
right.
I like that.
Especially during a time of uncertainty where some schools may be physically going back to school, other schools may be doing blended learning, just collaborating with how teachers are maneuvering around these restrictions
Well, the nice thing about having this STEMinar in the summer is that by the fall, when you guys are working on your designs, we'll have a way for you to communicate with each other.
We'll work on
I'm
that.
ready to go. We'll work on that for sure.
Great
Good.
idea.
Thank you for that feedback. Who had given us that Q&A comment.
Yeah, great.
So will there be a crosswalk or alignment to the Reach Challenge lessons available on the new STEL resources website page? And that's the Standards for Technological and Engineering Literacy.
I'm not aware of one at this point. I'm not personally heavily involved in creating the STEL document.
So yeah, not
Be
that
fine with me.
Not that I know of. So, but we'd have to probably check with someone who's more involved on that than we were.
You can add that to the list too.
That's right. Good idea.
And how long has the Reach Challenge been around?
Yeah, so we launched it last year. Last year was its pilot year, and it was a great success. And we've been doing adaptive and assistive technology projects for
six or
7 years through a program called Go Baby Go, which was started by Dr. Cole Galloway at the University of Delaware. And so we've been collaborating with him for years on this. And we thought, as we started going through Go Baby Go, we realized that there weren't just children with mobility issues. There were children with visual impairments, and there were adults with problems that needed to be solved. And we thought, oh, we could expand this so much bigger. But part of the issue was he was getting a lot of teachers coming up to him in conferences saying, well, what curriculum are you using to teach this? How do I teach my engineering students empathy? How do I teach them listening skills and how to conduct a user interview? Like, we could not find curriculum on that. And so we thought, well, then we should solve our own problem and make this happen. Do you have anything? Yeah,
that's really one of the things about it that is unique is we started doing Go Baby Go and adaptive technology with our robotics team as an outreach project. But not only did we find that we were helping out the children that we were building the cars for, but I saw within my students a total change in their empathy and their ability to see other people's perspectives other than their own. I mean, I've had my students, they're captain of the soccer team and stuff that have built these relationships with a child with disabilities that they're just like best friends now, and it's really amazing to see that empathy grow.
Goosebumps, yeah.
And I found
so rewarding too. Absolutely.
I found that for me as a teacher and for my students, that this is what they time after time after time have said is one of the most rewarding experiences of their high school career is getting to work with these students to Go Baby Go. And that's why we did Reach Challenges, to expand that to include everybody.
Yeah, and he's had students that have gone on to MIT and Rice and Stanford, and the thing that they always say that they miss the most is the adaptive and assistive technology projects. Like, that's the thing that they're like, oh, I really miss that. And so that's why we also expanded it to college students, because we were like, yeah, sometimes that does get lost amongst college students as well. So, yeah.
One last thing I'd say there is, I always, as a teacher, I always felt like English teachers had it easy because not in terms of grading, but in terms of that ability to build heart into their class. engineering and technology.
Hopefully there's no English teachers here.
Well, I love English teachers, but there's it's a lot harder to build that heart into your engineering and technology curriculum. But the reality is that engineers are the people that are really out there doing the work to make the world a better place,
Solving problems.
and solving problems. And so I found that was a really a good thing to add into the curriculum.
And I'll add one more thing, is that studies have shown that when you can connect STEM skills with helping professions, that girls, you know, I'm always trying to bring more girls onto the robotics team and get more girls involved in STEM. And oh my gosh, like once we started making that connection, the number of girls that were inspired by STEM just blossomed. And it was awesome to see, like they made that connection. Oh, you know, it's not just like ones and zeros, you know, I'm changing someone's life. I can do this. So anyway, it's great for girls too.
That's amazing. I love that. I guess these will be our last questions. So they just have to do with who actually participated your first year. So how many teams, were there any colleges who participated, or is this your first year including colleges as well?
Yeah, we had a couple colleges last year, and one middle school team that actually, because I mean, middle school, it's a little bit of a challenge to do, but mainly it was focused on high school last year. We really would like to encourage more colleges to do, but again, it was our pilot year last year, so we're just kind of excited to see it expand.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gavin and Andrea, for coming here and talking to us about the REACH Challenge. And can you tell us one more time what that deadline is to register?
The early registration deadline where you can get that giant discount is September 11th, okay. Which is unfortunately an easy date to remember, but it works out because it's right after Labor Day. So that is our registration for the discount. After that, you can still register, but you have to pay full price.
And we did want to go ahead and open it. We opened it up earlier this year because there's some school districts that, their fiscal year ends at the end of this month, and sometimes you have a little bit more budget here, a little bit more budget there. So we wanted to make sure that it could be in either budget year.
Right.
That's good thinking.
Yeah, it's a great thing to spend your last few $100 of your 2020 budget on before you start over for next year.
And we have quickly, Steve Barbado asked, how did the middle school entry do last year?
They were one of our winners.
Oh, good.
They won some money.
They won money. And the cool thing was they got invited, I think, by their labor department of their state to like tour some of the resources that they were doing for adults that had various disabilities. And I mean, they really, it was super inspiring. So yeah, they were one of our finalists.
Middle school teams can do it. They really can.
Yeah.
And they did theirs on Tinkercad, and it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no other questions, thank you again, Gavin and Andrea, for coming here and telling us about the REACH Challenge.